Let me put you a layman's rough view of the last 15 years, say, which is that we hit this awful recession in 2008 as it was a financially induced recession. We didn't spend enough to get out of that recession. And now, when we hit the pandemic, we spent too much. If only we had reversed those decisions, if only the decision we made in 2021 had been the decision we made in 2009, 10, then maybe it would have all worked out. But we actually got those decisions wrong both times.
I think that's about right. I think that to quantify it relative to the size of the gap that had to be filled, we spent about five times as much in 2020, 2021 as we did in 2008. And
Wow.
we probably should have spent twice as much in 2008, 9, and we probably should have spent half as much in 2020.
So you
I
see why
was
people are skeptical of macroeconomists.
Yeah, well, but in fairness, in fairness, I think in 2008 it was much more. I was there. It was the politics. I remember saying several times to President Obama and to others who said, what's the right amount to spend here? And I said, that's like asking how much weight I should lose. I suppose it's possible that I'll lose too much and become anorexic, but that's a pretty remote risk starting from where I am. And so the right answer is as much as possible. And the right answer then was we should get as much fiscal stimulus as we could, consistent with the political process and the fact that we needed to get it quickly. That was the right view then. And there were a whole set of discussions about so-called secular stagnation afterwards. The economy was understimulated, not just right after the financial crisis, but for some years afterwards through till the COVID moment. But then it was amazing to me. We got to early 2021. COVID was starting to recede. The estimate was that if you looked at how much payrolls were depressed by about $30 billion a month. And that number was coming down. And we decided as a country to spend between $150 and $200 billion a month in what we injected into the economy. And it was pretty predictable that that would lead to inflation. And it did. And, it didn't have to lead. It could have been better or worse. It's not that we knew when we started on the experiment exactly what was going to happen on the supply side of the economy. But given that you were putting $150 billion in to an economy that was only $30 billion short, even if everything worked great on the supply side, you were going to have a problem. And it was sort of predictable that even if you didn't know what would go wrong, that some things would go wrong on the supply side. And that's why we overheated the economy as badly as we did. And the political lesson is that when you start seeing rapid inflation, it in its early stages, the prices always go up faster than the wages, that it affects everybody because they feel like they're having more trouble making ends meet. And it conveys a sense of a society out of control. And that's very scary to people. So I think that was a consequential blunder that, as you say, was the mirror image of what we regret.